the interest in community-engaged scholarship right now and university community partnerships has just ballooned in the last 2 years, and it's really exciting to be part of that. The Institute was founded to be a bridge between the University of California, Santa Cruz and communities locally and globally who care about research and social justice. And we all know the intersecting crises we face in our country and our world at the moment: racial and economic inequality, threats to democracy everywhere, climate crises, and on and on. And the complexity and the scale of those challenges require all of us to be together, sharing the best of our knowledge, the best of our spirits, the best of our wisdom, and the best of our love for each other and for the communities and world we want to create. And so that's... And so that's why we were so excited to be partnering with the Urban Research and Action Network to host this conference as a chance to really share what we've been learning. What's working, what do we need to build on, what are the challenges we've overcome and continue to need to overcome coming forward. So that's the purpose, is all learning and talking and being inspired from each other and gaining new energy for those struggles ahead. As you all know, organizing a conference like this requires at least a village, if not a lot more. We want to thank all of our financial sponsors, all of our co-sponsors, both across the UC Santa Cruz campus, across the state, and the Urban Research and Action Network. I also want to particularly thank the staff of the Institute for Social Transformation. Woo! They're mostly outside. They were at reception. Glenn Matoma's there, our managing director, Evan Knight. Yay! Come on in. Dario Leon, Gabby Alvarez, Sue Grasso. They're just an amazing team to work with, and it could not have been done without them. And Evan Knight, yeah, I just said that, Director of Operations, thank you. And then we've also had a whole team of people across the campus, co-sponsors from the Humanities Institute, the Arts Research Institute, the Baskin School of Engineering, a whole number of faculty and staff who've really helped organize this. So can we just give a round of applause for all of them? And I also want to thank all of our volunteers. These are students and staff on campus. They're all wearing orange t-shirts. They'll be here for the next 3 days. If you have any issues or problems, please check with them. So I want to acknowledge and make sure we all are aware that the land on which we gather is the unceded territory of the Awaswas-speaking Yupi tribe. The Amah Mutsun tribal band, comprised of the descendants of indigenous people taken to missions Santa Cruz and San Juan Bautista during Spanish colonization of the Central Coast, is today working hard to restore traditional stewardship practices on these lands and to heal from historical trauma. And I don't need to tell all you, but it's really important that land acknowledgements not just be a token statement, that it's really a reminder to all of us to learn more about the history and the stories, not just of indigenous survival, but indigenous rebellion, reconstitution, ongoing work and struggles. We're very honored today to have with us the chairman of the Amah Mutsun tribal band, Chairman Lopez, who you'll hear from a little bit later. And I want to encourage all of you to learn more about the Amah Mutsun people, their history, their current struggles. And it's a really timely thing because some of their sacred land, Uristoc, is threatened at the very moment that we're gathering by a classic case of rapacious vulture capitalists. I mean, that's really an accurate description of the debt acquisition corporation of America who's threatening a gravel quarry in some of their sacred land. And there is a draft environmental impact report that's open at the moment for It's actually probably 11 more days now for open comment. So please go learn more, submit a public comment if you can, and you'll hear more about that going forward. But of course, land acknowledgement should also push all of us who are non-Indigenous peoples to confront our own place on these lands and to recognize the history and ongoing legacy of settler colonialism, and to reflect on what we are doing to transform our settler colonial society and our institutions. And of course, that's a huge part of why we're here today and why we've all come together, is to share and learn in that work of transforming our society, our universities, our towns, our institutions, and building a future rooted in racial equity and justice. So, yay, all in. So we're going to move into the plenary session, and my colleagues from the sociology department, Rebecca London and Steve McKay, will introduce that and the topic of that. But to get us started and really help get us in the spirit and inspiration for the moment, we have the leaders of an amazing organization that I've had the honor to have some connection with when I was a professor at UC Davis. It's called Sacramento Area Youth Speaks, a social justice movement that empowers youth and transforms education. Please welcome Patrice Hill and Denisha Bland from Sacramento Area Youth Speaks.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
So honored to be in this space.
Yes.
And you know, one of the things about Sacramento Area Youth Speaks is it is a program of the university that's focused on the community. And we need more of these programs where we push the university to intentionally invest in the community. Young people do not see themselves reflected in the curriculum too often in K through 12 schooling. And so it is our duty to create curriculum that is culturally relevant, culturally responsive, where young people can see themselves reflected, right? Where they also have a platform to speak their truth, to stand in who they are and be who they are without any barriers. And so we're so excited to be here this morning and share some spoken word with you. Y'all want to hear some spoken word? All right, when I say all, you say in. All. All. When I say all, you say in. All. All.
All right, let's get this thing started, y'all. Lift us up.
Don't push us out.
Our voice is freedom.
Educational justice is the route.
Good at what I do, don't know how I do it. Was never good at grammar, start writing poetry, now I breeze through it. Might not always use an adjective before a noun or know an adverb from a verb, but says stay helping me putting these sentences together, creating poems for the people seeking art and words. No matter what they may say about me, little old me, the girl in the class that really couldn't read or spell for the life of she, and behind my back they all laugh at me, still to this day don't believe I write my own poetry. How could this be? She turned out to speak and write sentences properly. It's not about how fast you can read or who know all they math and geometry. Everyone can shoot for the stars and be all they can be, buzzing around the honeycombs with the other bees, trying to get to the center core of the honey tree. Having problems in school don't mean you can't succeed. Preschool is the start. Elementary is the introduction to things. Reading, writing, arithmetic is the government sayings. But everyone failed to realize school is where you start to feel ashamed. Ashamed of how you look, ashamed of how you read, even ashamed of your race and your nationality. But I just say, make school your hustle and be all you can be. Shooting for the stars and be all you can be. Lift us up.
Don't push us out.
Our voice is freedom.
Educational justice is the route. They don't care, y'all. Yeah, give it up, y'all.
When I say all, y'all say in. All.
In.
All.
In. They don't care if our youth get high at school, long as they get by at school. Get by institutionalized racism and intergenerational oppression systems that keep prison pipelines thriving. Disguised as willful defiance, I'm trying to understand why our youth don't see themselves reflected in the curriculum. How can this happen when youth of color don't see color in the material? That's a travesty. How can we be? Let's get all in to get these youth free, because they don't care if our youth get high at school, long as they get by at school. Get by institutionalized racism and intergenerational oppression systems that keep prison pipelines thriving, disguised as willful defiance. I'm trying to understand the truth in all of us. Let's come together and be free. Let's come together and do all we can to get these youth free. All in means we're all in together for the prospering of our young people. What did you get your degree for? Was it to hang it on the wall or do work in your community? Let's keep on standing, y'all, until all these children are free. Lift us up.
Don't push us out.
Our voice is freedom.
Educational justice is the route.
Peace, y'all.
All right, one more time for Patrice and Denisha. That was amazing. So that was amazing, and it's just so inspiring to hear. We, again, planned this, years ago, but we seem to be in this moment, right, of community engagement, a moment, maybe even a movement. Colleges and universities seem to have discovered community engagement, raising their visibility off campus, rolling out new programs like service learning, and touting scholarship activities that serve the quote-unquote public good. So in part, we know colleges and universities seem to be responding to recent attacks, particularly from the populist right, that higher education breeds elitism and researches the irrelevant. So community engagement helps fill a need of colleges and universities to demonstrate their value and validity beyond the academy. And make no mistake, I think this is a good thing. But on the heels of that spoken word, that truth that you guys spoke to us, we have a responsibility beyond the public good. And so when we think about what we're trying to do, we're really trying to build a critical community engaged scholarship. And we take that lesson to heart, and we have to remember those lessons every time we're up on a dais, whenever we're in front of the community or our students. And so, again, there's been this, we're seeing this rise and spread of community engaged programs, but typically we see it defined quite loosely. Rarely is it defined in the way you defined it. This is a typical definition. And again, it's not a bad thing. This from Gordon de Cruz. Community engagement is beneficial partnerships between universities and communities designed to collaboratively develop and apply knowledge to address consequential public issues, right? Again, this is a really positive development. But such loose definitions as beneficial partnership for the public good can sometimes, right, and I'm hearing the lead to a kind of shallowness that may sound nice, but not cost much. And it doesn't strike at the heart of inequality and injustice. So following some other leading lights, and we stand on the shoulders of many here in this room, of critical community engaged scholars, such as Michelle Fine, Mark Warren, Tim Eatman, and Cynthia Gordon de Cruz, we're really trying to push this budding movement beyond the slogans and colorful banners with diverse people on there and community handshakes. We want to go beyond merely beneficial partnerships to ask, beneficial for whom, right? Who benefits most? We want to go beyond weakly defined notions of public issues and beyond a generic public good. In short, we want to go beyond what I often call as performative engagement. And we need to go from public good to public better. And it's really kind of holding our feet to that fire, right, about what we're trying to do needs to be more than just the public good. And so when we define critical community engagement, We define it as action-oriented, equitable collaboration toward achieving structural change and social justice. Right? And that's in our title, all in, right? Co-creating knowledge, not just for the good, but for justice. And that's really important. Now, we have to break down, well, what do we mean by that? How do we ourselves go beyond a performance of this? And so it means kind of breaking down those action-oriented equitable collaborations. And the first, a critical approach, really has to be focused on issues of power, right? And structural inequality, and really toward equity. And this is drawing on a range of different critical theories, but it's not critical in that it's just a critique. It's critical in this attention to power and power dynamics, right? And so in recognizing past injustice and forces behind current inequalities, we have to recognize that even in our own partnerships, right, particularly. And we need to center those most impacted or marginalized. Right? So we need to recognize power relations, who historically has it and who doesn't. Recognizing different expertise and forms of knowledge, and continually ask whose knowledge has value. So critical community engagement is deeply participatory. And as Cristina Jimenez, who founded United We Dream, said the other night on campus, those closest to the pain need to be closest to the solutions. And others, again, building on those like Michelle Fine and others, the Public Science Project, no research on us without us, right? And so we really need to think about this. So these partnerships are important, and we have to be attuned to the power relations within our own partnerships. And so it's about creating collective space where we recognize the difference and different types of knowledges and expertise, and cultivate those differences as resources. Now, that sometimes can lead to a dilemma, right, where we might have a division of labor and strategically want to leverage our positions and expertise, especially at the university, but not reify existing hierarchies and power relations. And that's a real thing that we need to work out. So critical community engagement is also action-oriented, right? It's focused on public-facing, actionable scholarship designed to provoke action and transformation and help us imagine how things might be. Right? Going beyond, again, a bland public good to really exploring the public better. Now, in doing so, again, we need to generate then research outputs and things that are legible, understandable, and above all, of use to the community. Because what's that degree for? Is it supposed to sit on the wall or be for your community? So part of our approach to this is to involve undergraduates. And so one of the things that we've done, and we'll hear a little bit more of community studies and other programs that have done this for a long time, but more recently integrating students into our research. So we've called this Community-Initiated Student-Engaged Research, or CISR for short. And the CISR model is one in which we can scale up community collaborations by involving large number of undergraduates so that then we can produce scaled, large-scale public data that's useful to a community partner. So here you see typically there's student and faculty relations, like research experience for undergrads. There's faculty working with community through campus community partnerships, and sometimes there's community and students in service learning. And what we're trying to do is bring that all together around actionable research. And over the last 7 years, we've had over 600 undergraduates participate in 5 different CISR projects that have focused on low-wage work and wage theft, affordable housing and houselessness, on immigrant belonging and not belonging, and on immigrant justice. So these are all part of what we feel is an important critical model. And the last thing, and maybe one of the most important, is this last thing, that recognizing the need for substantial institutional investment and change, right? And change. So this is really, again, it's institutional investment in and with community, right? And what does the university in this community as a community member owe to the community? It's also institutional investment on our campus in staffing and recognizing, right, what it takes to do this kind of work, right? Valuing also, again, in terms of institutional change, scholarship in its various forms, right? Multiple products, engaged partnerships, and recognizing and supporting the time and effort required by faculty, by staff, by grads, by community members, by undergraduates for doing this work of building long-lasting and equitable community partnerships. And finally, and we'll hear about this too, it's about reassessing what counts as scholarship, right? Especially for things like tenure and promotion, and recognizing formally that the integration of research, teaching, and service is critical to community-engaged scholarship and to the scholars that push this forward. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. We all excited? I'm really excited. My heart is so full. Looking at all of you around the room, I cried during the spoken word performance. That was brilliant and phenomenal. My name is Rebecca London. I'm a faculty member in sociology. I'm part of the planning team, the organizing team for this conference, and I'm going to make an exciting announcement to tell you a new role that I have also. But we appreciate your being here, taking the time out of what I know is busy and important work that you do to be here in Santa Cruz with us. So thank you. Thank you for spending these few days with us. I want to just spend a couple minutes telling you about how UC Santa Cruz has enacted critical community engagement that you just heard about from Steve, and then we're going to move on to our plenary session. So back in 1969, the university formed its first interdisciplinary program called Community Studies. And Community Studies featured an experiential learning component, 6 months of field work for students who were involved, placed in all different kinds of community organizations. The goal was, and continues to be, to help create the capacity and the conditions for social change. It was completely built around an equity framework. So that doesn't sound really all that radical by today's standards. This was 50 plus years ago. 50 plus years ago, this is what UCSC was doing. And it was a time when the students who were involved in this work, I learned from my colleague Mary Beth Putup, who's sitting right there, that the students were branded as troublemakers, right? This work wasn't seen as uplifting. It wasn't seen as, a public good. It was seen as troublemaking. And from that start, that very important and auspicious start on our campus, we now have a web of engaged scholarship that reaches across disciplines throughout our campus and into our various communities. And I love this history. This history is so important. And if you want to hear more about it, I invite you to join Professor Mary Beth Putup and some alum from the Community Studies program in a session tomorrow. I'm sure it will be amazing to hear what they're doing now. Right now, I want to look to the future with you. And I'm excited to share, this is like my big announcement, I'm excited to share that with funding from the William T. Grant Foundation, the Spencer Foundation, the Doris Duke Charitable Foundation, and the incredible support of our social sciences dean, Catherine Mitchell, who's sitting right here, we have created a center here at UC Santa Cruz, a hub for critical engaged scholarship. And I'm launching the center right now. It's called Campus Plus Community. There we are. That's our logo. Campus Plus Community. I see Dario and Gabby in the back. Woo-woo! This is a really exciting moment for us. What we're trying to do through this center is uplift the amazing work that's happening through collaborations between UC Santa Cruz and multiple community organizations and partners locally, nationally, even internationally. We're not bound by a geography. We're bound by a commitment to critical community engagement. I'm also really excited to share, and I have to thank Glenn Matoma, who was probably up way too late last night getting this together, our website, which features a set of spotlights for different programs, different projects that are happening here on campus. Feel free to check them out. I hope you will. If you're a campus or a local stakeholder, someone who's working with someone on campus, and you want your project spotlighted on our website, we're here for you. We have a way of doing that, so hang tight and you'll hear more about it. So through Campus Plus Community, what we're doing is we're trying to support our campus and our community stakeholders who are looking to partner by providing outreach, workshops, dissemination opportunities. We're gathering input about the kinds of work that's already happening and the kinds of work that we want to be happening. We're going to be reaching out to our community to learn from the community, what more do you need from us? What more can we do? How can we enact that public better for all of you? Right? This isn't just about us saying, hey, this is what we want to do for you. This is about us listening. What can we do for you? How can we do that? How can we partner? And I don't want to make it seem like, it's just me and Steve and Chris doing this work. This work is happening all over campus. We have a UC-wide working group that's thinking about issues like tenure and promotion, that's thinking about issues like the Institutional Review Board and the ethics committee. How do we get research done without letting these bureaucracies stop us from doing the work we want to do well? We have leadership from our humanities dean, Jasmine Allender, who's really looking on our campus to change how we think about engaged scholarship in the tenure and promotion process. If you want to learn more about that, you can come see the session that we've organized tomorrow. We wouldn't be launching today if it weren't for the incredible work that's already happening on our campus. I have to thank Chris Benner and the Institute for Social Transformation. I want to call out Ron Glass and his center, the University of California Center for Collaborative Research for an Equitable California, CREC. Ron always says this center's in its zombie life, but in its zombie life, it's seeded a lot of amazing work here on campus. We have engaged scholarship happening in our residential colleges. We have Linnea Beckett and Flora Liu and John R. Lewis College who are running the ASER program down in Watsonville with local schools and families. We have Leslie Lopez and the CARA program at Oaks College. We have the Everett program and David Lee's Tech for Good lab that are working with community organizations to support technology innovations for better solutions in the community. And these folks are working with undergraduates and grad students on our campus to support all of this great, amazing work that's happening in the community. Our library has just created a new community archivist position. Rebecca Hernandez, who holds that position, is here today. And there's so many more. Gina Langhout leading up our youth participatory action research, Steve McKay uplifting Scissor, so many more. I hope you'll get a chance to meet all these folks while you're here for this conference and learn more about what they're doing. All this to say we need Campus Plus Community. We need this hub on our campus to draw together all of the knowledge, to really commit to this critical community engagement for the public better, and to engage ethically and in good faith and equity with our community partners. So we've been planning this effort for years and years and years, just like this conference. And as I was thinking about, what's my elevator pitch? What can I say? I really wanted a one-floor elevator pitch, and it took me a while to come up with it. But here, I'm trying it out on you. You tell me if you like it. Our unique approach features a commitment to our partners for ethical and critical community engagement. We value deep collaboration in all aspects of the work, from conception to dissemination, and we are dedicated to creating new knowledge and new forms of knowledge alongside our partners and partner organizations. Commitment, collaboration, creation. Campus Plus Community. I feel really fortunate to have the opportunity to be the first faculty director of this center, and with that, I'm going to open our plenary and invite our partners to join me on the stage. Is there like a plenary page? You're going to do that. There we go. Thank you.
So this is a part where we get to see if we actually walk the talk. And so we've invited 3 of our most prominent community partners and really community leaders to tell us if we're bullshit or not.
Okay,
And,
Steve.
we're dead serious, right? Like, it does not work. If they don't drink the Kool-Aid, we could say all we want. But till we actually make change in the community, it's all just talk. So I just want to welcome Chairman Lopez, Chairman of the Mutsun Tribal Band, Keisha Browder, CEO of United Way of Santa Cruz County, and MariaElena de la Garza, Executive Director of the Community Action Board of Santa Cruz County. So welcome.
Thank you.
And so we've agreed on a few questions, and we'll open the floor after, but we have a set of questions that we want to have them, we designed it with them, and so we'll ask them in turn. Rebecca will start.
Great, thanks. Can you hear me? Is this on? Okay, good. So if we could just start by asking each of you to tell us about your organizational mission and how you engage with UC Santa Cruz in support of that mission. And we'll start right here with MariaElena.
Excellent. Buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
It's so wonderful to see your beautiful faces. And I'm going to start with, I'm MariaElena, and I'm born and raised in Watsonville, California, which is about 14 miles down the freeway in what is known as South County. It's about 17 miles, but sometimes it feels like a million miles away. Like this morning when Keisha and I were in traffic trying to get over here on time. And so I want to thank the All In folks for inviting my voice to this table. I am a first generation Latina. My mother was from Jalisco. My father was Tejano. He was born in 1902. And they moved to this community because they wanted a better life, and they wanted to ensure that my sister and I had a good education. And so they worked really hard 365 days a year. My mom in the kitchen cooking, and my father a businessman who was illiterate. My mother had a third grade education, and that is what I bring, and those are the shoulders that I stand on as I run this organization called Community Action Board of Santa Cruz County. We've existed for 57 years, and we exist to eliminate poverty and create social change. And I am very proud to be the Latina executive director, born and raised in this community. Thank you. Because it makes a frickin' difference.
Yes.
It makes a difference. We were a white organization. We were white governed. We had white administration, wonderful people. And it took us about 9 years, November 12th, next month, of new leadership to completely flip us around. And I proudly say we reflect the community that we serve, which is about 90% Latino, and our governance reflects it, our administration reflects it, our management team reflects it, our leadership team reflects it, our frontline staff reflects it. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. So with that, I'll pass it on to my sister friend, hermana, Keisha.
Thank you, MariaElena. You see, y'all got us started.
That's right. That's right.
It's happening. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Keisha Browder, and I am a proud South Central Compton native who gets to be in this community where United Way of Santa Cruz County has been in this community since 1941. And in 2018, I became the first Black woman and the first person of color to serve as CEO for our United Way. So that's 81 years. 81 years. And similar to MariaElena, I stand on the shoulders of having a mother and a father who always taught me to give, be of community, to always turn around and pull and learn from your experiences. So what you may see and hear about South Central and Compton totally differs from my experience of being in a family with a mother and a father, brothers, where education was pushed, promoted, but it was always that sense of community. And so I get to stand here as the CEO and hold our United Way accountable to centering racial equity as we go out and create a healthy, thriving, and safe Santa Cruz County for all. So since 2018, when I stepped into this role, I really wanted to look at our youth. There's an African proverb, you know, when you want to know if a community is well, it's when the children are well. And so just as we heard with the spoken word, if we do not create a space to take care of our children, and I say that, I have 5, kinder to college with a set of twins in there. I can be on this stage today because I know my children are well. I can show up different in the community. I can think clear when I know my children are well. And so that's the space that my tiny and mighty team, I see them out there, that we get to create here in Santa Cruz County. Let's take a deeper dive in centering racial equity to make sure that our children are well. So we look at that through the lens of college and career readiness, health and wellness, economic mobility, and community engagement. You're going to hear from some of our dynamic youth later on this afternoon with Jovenasanos, so I encourage you to be a part of that. But what you're going to see is the same thing that my parents showed me. I want this community, I want this world to see our children of color, the way we see them, for the beauty that we see in them, for the potential that we see in them. And with this partnership with UC Santa Cruz, we're instilling that their voice and their leadership and their expertise, as well as their lived experience, is just as valuable as what you'll find in any curriculum. I'd put their words up to any research book because they are our future. So I am proud to be here, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the questions. And I pass it on to Chairman Lopez.
Thank you very much. I'm going to borrow your sheet here. Well, good morning. My name is Valentin Lopez, and I'm the chairman of the Amah Mutsun tribal band. And our tribe is comprised of the descendants of the indigenous peoples that were taken to missions San Juan Bautista and Mission Santa Cruz. The lands that we are on are the lands of the Whippy tribe, which is the tribe of Santa Cruz, and they spoke the Awaswas language, which is a language that was spoken from the North Watsonville area up to Pescadero and to the summit. That was in that area there were about 8 or 9 Awaswas-speaking tribes. Today there are no known Awaswas speakers. They've all perished. They've all perished. And that's a damn shame. And that's a shameful history that is never told. That is never told. You know, the question was, what is your organization's mission? What is the mission of the Amah Mutsun tribe? It's not a single mission, I can tell you that. You know, our mission encompasses everything you could possibly imagine. Everything you can imagine. First of all, our people have been here for 15,000 years or more. And when you look at that in generations, that's 900, 1,000, and probably more generations than 1,000. That's how long our people have been here. Our creation story tells us that it's our responsibility to take care of Mother Earth and all living things. And that wasn't some trivial statement that was given to us. That was something that was a very exact, precise directive given to us from the Creator. And that was our whole obligation and responsibility and purpose for being here. And our people worked hard to fulfill that. They maintained the coastal lands of the Greater Bay Area, Monterey Bay area, as a coastal prairie. And it was recognized as one of the most biodiverse landscapes in North America. What happened to it? They took indigenous people away from there. And then those brutal times of the colonization came, the Mission Spanish period. the Mexican period, the American period, where they wanted to destroy our culture, our spirituality, our indigenous knowledge, our environment, our humanity. And so today, what is the mission of our tribe? What is the mission of our tribe? One is that it's time to stop. It's time to tell the true history of Native Californians. We can no longer ignore, forget, or erase that history. Our history did not start with the mission period here in California, as told in our books. Universities have a responsibility to help tell that true history. And we work with UC Santa Cruz on that right now. As a matter of fact, we recently published a website in which a lot of that true history is available now. Nice. And I don't have the website off the top of my head, but I'm sure we can get that for you. The other thing that's important is that the hardest part for us in any relationship is trust. I mean, after all those, after those 7, 8, 9 generations from first contact of slavery, rape, brutality, genocide. I mean, how can we trust? How can we trust anyone outside our community? So the first thing with any relationship, with any part here on the campus, is trust. How can we trust them? So, and then other things that are important to know is that we have to go at the tribe's pace. We're not, a lot of researchers come in and they'll say, well, I have a 3-month project. I want to accomplish this, and this, and all we can say is good luck, That's all we can say. We have to go at our pace. And that frustrates a lot of researchers. And they say that I'm wasting my time. Well, that's just too bad. The other thing is recognize during that period of time, our tribal members are dealing with issues of historic trauma. I mean, if you suffer, 5, 6, 7 generations of slavery, brutality, discrimination, hatred, outright murder, I mean, that affects your soul. That affects your spirit. That affects your DNA. And today, we are dealing with that. We are dealing with that in a very serious way. So there's a lot of healing that has to be done. There's a lot of healing by our tribal members that must be done. At the same time, perpetrators, an institution of perpetrators, such as UC Santa Cruz and such as all the other institutions in the United States, as perpetrators, they must heal too. As a matter of fact, institutions and perpetrators have a lot more healing to do than the Native people, than the indigenous people. It's time for that healing to begin. Yes. And I think here at Santa Cruz, they're off to a good start. I'll stop there.
Thanks so much, Chairman Lopez, and all of you. And it really comes to our next question. As community leaders, what in your minds makes for an equitable and strategic partnership with the university?
Well, I'll start. So we, with United Way, we embarked on this journey with UC Santa Cruz, with Professor London and others during a youth participatory action research. But what happened was Rebecca had already rolled up her sleeves. We've worked together. And so what makes for an equitable partnership is that we're seen as true co-creators. As Chairman Lopez said, we've seen where researchers can come in and tell the community, listen, I have a 5-month, a 6-month, and I want to just watch and observe and test you all for what I need. Professor London's approach was different. She approached and said, what do you need? What do you need? How can we as a university be of service to you? And also think about those tiny but mighty changes. Our university, Rebecca, London, Steve, they don't depend on the nonprofit to always find the venue. They don't depend on us to always make sure food's at a meeting. They actually are okay as researchers, as professors, that they can go get the food. They have grocery shop. They know how to sweep. It's that mutual respect, that not making those assumptions that because we're the nonprofit that we do all of the labor work and or we just respond to your questions. And it's not always seen or assumed that because they are the professors that they are the only holders of knowledge. And that happens with the professors and the United Way as the organization. It also happens with our youth. We have youth at the table, and they are to be respected. Their voices matter, and that their voice produces action. So when I think of that equitable partnership, it's everyone coming out of these ivory towers and the accolades and the credentials, and really just asking the question that Rebecca asked when she called my cell phone. What do you need? We led with that. That became our research. That became what we would study. And so even with thinking about data, well, who owns the data? If you're partnering with us, do I really have to ask your permission to use that? And so together, our partnership created an actual data agreement. We also created a memorandum of understanding, how we will engage. But when equity, when diversity, when our values are aligned, and we come together with that true co-creation for knowledge and really understanding that, that to me is what makes for an equitable partnership. Absolutely. So I thank you all for getting the coffee and securing venues. Thank you.
Can I add something to that? I absolutely ditto, right, what you're saying, Keisha. And can I tell a story? So we run the Day Worker Center of Santa Cruz County, and it was a contentious fight with the community to open up that center where we opened it. The community did not want those day laborers in their neighborhood. And so that was pre my executive directorship, but the agency made it happen, and a community of supporters and community activists made it happen. But one of the things that was the underlying narrative that existed through our governance and elected officials was, okay, we're gonna let you open up the Day Worker Center, but don't ask us for money. And so then I get here, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and not knowing what that narrative is, but it was very clear. They love you until they don't love you anymore, till you ask them for money. And so one of the things, and I want to just give praises to my friend Steve here, who sits on our advisory committee to the Day Worker Center. Yay.
I make coffee.
But one of the things that he did in his group and with his students when they were doing the Working for Dignity work, and I invite you to look up that work online because it was fabulous and important and critical and all in. He worked with us, we worked together, we partnered to develop questions to work with the students, to talk to his students about how you go into a community and what are the cultural layers that you have to understand when you go into a community. And so we were invited to those conversations. And the beauty of the work, the story that the data told, was then used to create a movement. How long ago was that study, Steve? Do you remember?
2016.
2016. And I proudly say that we just got funded. That would not have happened. It took us a while, but this partnership gave us the tools and the ammunition and the power and the voice and the narrative to keep pushing, and it made a difference.
Well, what makes for an equitable and strategic partnership? With UC Santa Cruz, we have a lot of very strategic and important projects and partnerships going on. Our UC, our Amah Mutsun Speaker Series, we're going into our 25th or 26th consecutive biannual speaker series this coming November 5th. And I hope you can all join it. And what it is that, we have there's a tribe down south, and they've been applying for federal recognition for quite a number of years, and they're going to talk about their recognition effort and how impossible that federal recognition effort is also. But through that speaker series, our first one started in, I think, 2009 or 2010, and it's been going on every May and November since. The very first three dealt with the issue of historic trauma. And they were very important issues to our tribe. And we talked about it because in our tribe we had serious issues with addiction, with suicide, with violence, with incarceration, et cetera. And we knew for us to be a successful tribe, we'd have to deal with those. And so we worked with those. We had that Mutsun Speaker Series, but then we started talking to folks here on campus about helping us and working with us and finding other programs to bring our members to the campus to get them involved and get them learning other things. The projects that we started was developing an Amah Mutsun relearning garden. In that history where they were working to get us to, forcing us to give up our indigenous knowledge of how to take care of our world and our universe. We had to relearn a lot of that knowledge, and that's what a lot of our relationship is with the university, is relearning that knowledge and learning the knowledge of our plant foods, our medicine foods, our basketry foods, learning how to gather, learning how to tend, et cetera. And that's been a very successful program. And it's brought a lot of healing to our members. A lot of healing is just restoring those relationships, restoring the relationships with the plants, restoring that knowledge, restoring relearning how to pray, for the plants, and et cetera. Those are all really important lessons. The other thing that we've learned is that we've put in place immediately, and it all comes down to that trust issue, is that you get one chance. I mean, if we were, I tell them right up front, the very first meeting, I tell them you get one chance. And believe me, it's happened before where people, we had one person who said that, that they would not try to profit off this knowledge. And you look at their website, now they're selling materials based on what they learned from us. And man, we put a stop to that, and we got that grant terminated immediately. And so, and then the other things is that we don't think in a straight line, A lot of times our needs aren't in a straight line, A lot of times people want to say, let's go A, B, C, D. Well, a lot of times we go, wait a minute, we need G today, And so there has to be a lot of flexibility. There has to be a lot of flexibility in working with us. A big part of that, for example, is working on our Eurostock campaign, where they're trying to destroy our most sacred site. We had to, we didn't know how to put a campaign together to defend a sacred site and what we needed to do. And we were told, talk to Chris and the Everett program, when he was at the Everett program. And so we talked to him, and he put us in touch with some students that were just brilliant. And they helped us design that program. And we started that in 2015. And we're still fighting that campaign today. But we still rely on him. They've helped us a lot of Facebook messaging, helped us develop a lot of techniques on just learning, issues like how to boost on Facebook. And I still don't know exactly what that means, but but I think that's the term. I think that's the term they use, not me. Yes. But we have people within the tribe that that are learning these things. I'm too old to do that stuff. Anyway, we have other relationships. So on campus, we work a lot with the environmental organizations and stuff like that, because a lot of our traditional ways A lot of the, for example, the way our ancestors took care of the native plants, they knew that all native plants had an obligation to take care of a full community. That full community meant taking care of the fungi, taking care of the insects, the birds, the four-legged, and people. You know, but yet you look today at our agriculture, I mean, that plant has one purpose only, to grow as much food as fast as it can, and then when that's done, they just cut it down and plant the next crop, you know? And that right there is not looking at that plant as a relative and stuff like that. But we're working with with universities and stuff like that to prove that indigenous knowledge of how to manage, steward, and take care of our plants, our plant relatives, is so important for us dealing with and surviving climate change. So we have a lot of really important initiatives that we work with in the university, and we will, and we're in a good position to keep that going forward. Thank you.
Okay. Just to follow up real quick on what Keisha said, we are an open book. If anybody wants to see our data memorandum of understanding or our partnership agreement, we are happy to share it. We'll put it up on our website so folks can also, benefit from some of the work that we've done. So we're going to skip a question for the sake of time, but this last question is one that MariaElena posed to us during our planning session for this plenary. If you had a magic wand, what is your vision for what we can create together? If you had a magic wand. I wish I had one to give you.
Chairman, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'm daydreaming. But what I'm daydreaming about is an ask that I made at the university just weeks ago. And that's my magic wand. You know, I said there's no Awaswa speakers. There's no Awaswa survivors today. And we steward their lands to honor them and to ensure they're never forgotten. And one ask that I asked for the university very recently, we were consulting with them on developing a new entryway into the university, one that would be, if you drive in there now, you drive in and you kind of look at it and go, well, what's this, at the entry level. But we want just a really nice, welcoming, open entryway that's very impressive and worthy of what that institution is all about. And what we asked for is a museum, an Awaswas museum that would recognize who the Awaswas people were, talk about their history, their contribution, the way they took care of the environment, the way that they maintained the sacredness on these lands for those thousands of years, which is gone now. A way to to learn how to take care of the plants that are important for the bees, the butterflies, the hummingbirds, all living things. And then a museum that will ensure that they are never forgotten. That is our important, is a very important goal that we have with the university now. And that is our magic one thought and daydream at this time.
Love it.
Well, part of the magic wand happened. I was always wishing for or thinking about, is there one centralized location at UC Santa Cruz where a nonprofit can call to access all of these amazing, prestigious professors? Because if you don't know Professor London or if you don't know Professor McKay, and those are the two I'm telling you about, I know there are others, probably not as fierce, but close. But where's that central location? Why, nonprofits are time. We're responding, we're growing, and the last thing we have time is to try and search on a campus on who to call and connect with. So part of my wand came true. Thank you, Rebecca, for announcing Campus Plus Community. It's a space. It's a real space for us to activate. The rest of my magic wand goes beyond UC Santa Cruz, but as a reminder to all of you on your campus, I cannot stress it enough, access. We can talk about college, and it can be a theoretical or aspiration, but there is a difference when you reach out and grab that next student and put them on campus. When we can see ourselves there, there's a difference. There is a difference. And so not just depend on youth to find their way to get to you, but how do you connect with the youth first, bring them to the campus? So much of this and what we're talking about is about that confidence and that courage. And so I just want to challenge with my magic wand that more institutions reach out and connect to our young people, and you help find those ways to bring them on campus so they can see themselves. And I say that personal experience of being a student athlete and going on these different recruiting trips. I was the 6th fastest hurdler in the country coming out of, coming out of high school. And I remember going on all of these recruiting trips. And out of all of those trips to all these universities, there was only one university who understood that you're moving from a community that's predominantly African American and Latino, and here you are going to a predominantly white institution, and what we want to know is how do you feel if you go into a classroom and you might be the only one? Yep. How do you feel? Where is that confidence? Belonging is not just about, I'm a student of color and I made it to college. You can be on that campus and still not feel like you belong. Mm-hmm. And so I never forgotten. It's why I chose that university, because they were the only ones who sat me in to help me to realize that, you know, this is what it might feel like to be the only one in that room of 300 or 400. These things might happen where people make assumptions because you're an athlete that somehow you don't have the same academic rigor as someone else. And helping and to say that we support you. I want to pass that, pay it forward for the next kid after me that looks like me, that looks like my sisters and brothers in this room. So access, my magic wand is about extending your access. Open the door. They'll take it from there, but open the door and make sure that you're reaching out to bring them to your campus, not always saying, hi, we're a campus, and if you catch the freeway, we're ready to serve you. Yeah. I need you to come and pick those kids up. Yeah. Thank you.
And I'm going to add a layer to that because that is so important. Well, 2 layers. I was invited to be a keynote address for one of the schools, one of the colleges' graduation, and it was such an honor for me to be in that space with you all. And as I was talking to the graduating class, I wanted to find out how many of you are going to stay in this community. Who are you? Where are you from? And are you staying in this community? And there was not one single hand raised. And great that those young people are graduating and they have degrees, but my Watsonville, South County people, my Santa Cruz people weren't in the room. And that makes a difference, right? We're talking about representation. We're talking about the community needs to be reflected. UCSC, open those damn doors. Build those pathways. Build those pipelines so that we can come. UCSC wasn't an option for me. I had no access. I had no pathway. And so that's important. I want to say if I had a magic wand, I would make sure that budgets reflected values. And and if you're going to say equity, fund equity. Yes. If you're going to say let's operationalize equity, let's figure it out how to do it together, and people of color have to be part of those strategic planning conversations. And you have to resource. We can't keep doing this work with no money. Sweat equity only goes a certain way, right? As far as it can, but it's not enough. We need funding, we need resources, we need these professors of color to have some bank. Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah. And I'm curious, how many of our professors of color have tenure? Is that a correct word? I don't know. It's not my language. Right? What's equity pay? I don't know about the rest of the university world, but COLAs for nonprofits for next year, the COLA cost of living adjustment is 5.67%. That's a lot. But what's the COLA for universities? No sé. And how do we ensure that there's wage equity? Right? If I had a magic wand, choo. If I had a magic wand, I would have more Steves and more Eva Bertrams and more Blum Center on Research Poverty and more of those, more Chris's and more Rebecca's and university professors connected to me and who have taken the time to build trust with me, to understand that I may not have alphabet after my name, but 32 years of nonprofit experience means something. And so that trust matters. It's intentional that 3 leaders of color are sitting here this morning. This isn't by chance, right? No, it isn't. That's right. That's what it takes. If I had a magic wand, there would be people of color in your institutions and in my institutions working together, holding a common language and a common vision that we can do better. And we have to do better. Because my mama didn't work 365 days on her feet every day for me not to do better.
Yes. Yes.
So I think that's it for me.
I'm jumping in. I'm jumping in.
Go.
Jumping in. You know, we carpooled. It's my chicana. My mujer. Mi mujer. And we were talking about this, and so it's like we're talking about equity, coming out of thinking that equity is just a DEI box in HR. But what does it really take? And that you don't just need people of color to only talk about DEI. You know, we're talented. We know how to market, we're philanthropists, we're IT, we're engineers, we're doctors. How do we move beyond just having us in a box for a short period of time, because this is what everybody is thinking about, and moving that from performative to equity in action? So again, that DEI is a fabric of culture, not a department. It is a part of the culture of institutions, of nonprofits. I keep saying 81 years, I'm the first. It took long enough, but I can't be the last. I want to get to a day where we don't have to keep saying the first. It should become the culture. So let's just keep going with this magic wand and have some action.
It's time for questions from the audience, and I'm happy to walk around with the microphone. Oh, Gabby's going to walk around with the microphone. Thank you, dear. So, if you have a question or a comment or a thought, a provocation, a question, a comment, a thought, or a provocation, or any other piece of wisdom you'd like to share, let us know, and we'll run over with the microphone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So one of the suggestions, more of a suggestion that I have that I really would like you guys to implement, is Indigenous communities have tribally controlled colleges. And so, like, I come from one. My specific college is called Sitting Bull College, and we're ranked #1 out of the Indigenous community. They often tease us and call us the Harvard of Indigenous community. Nice. So one of the things I really strongly recommending is to bridging these gaps is including tribally controlled colleges, a part of this panel, but also getting our students combined with your students and creating something really powerful. So, like, specifically on the West Coast, there's 4 tribally controlled colleges. I would like to see them in this space.
Nice.
Hi, my name is Mazahir Saleh. I'm the executive director of the Center for Worker Justice in Eastern Iowa. Yes, Iowa.
Welcome.
Thank you. You guys are amazing. I wish if I have you three in my community so we can do amazing job there. So, just speaking about, you said that you were funding finally. This is for Maria.
Yes.
And I just would like to know who funded you.
Yes.
And how hard, you said it was very hard. But also for your community action board, who is your member?
Yeah.
And how do they join your organization?
Excellent. Great question. Thank you for that. Community action exists across the nation. So in your community, find out who your community action agency is. We get a little bit of federally funded. There's over 1,000 of us across the nation and in virtually every county across the nation. What makes us different if we have a tripartite board where we have 5 voices of the low-income community, 5 elected officials, and 5 industry folks. And so the decisions who guide our work, really, who holds the power? It is shared power. It's a beautiful thing to watch. So our Day Worker Center would be funded by local grants, mostly from philanthropy, and through Community Services Department from the state. But local funders, the local government would not give us funding. They said no funding. And so we just got funded in, was it July? July 1 for, I think it was about 40,000, maybe 50,000, to help support the operations of the day workers. And the Day Workers Center works with 400 day workers who from one day to the next when shelter in place happened, lost all revenue. Zero. And so this was particularly timely to be able to keep the operations moving forward. Did that answer your question? Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Kim, I'm going to wear my parent hat. I'm also at the USC in California. But I'm wearing my parent hat, and I love this conversation. Y'all are on fire. This was an amazing first panel, so thank you. I'm wondering what the engagement of parents has been like in your work with youth. I think that's a problem all across the country to really motivate parents, get parents really involved. We've seen the data as far as particularly Black and Latinx youth not doing well across the state of California. So I'm just wondering, in your work with the university and the research around why students are not successful, what's been the results working with parents and engaging parents?
Yes. Oh, gosh. We do a variety of things, everything from stipends. You have to realize our youth are having to make choices, right? Between going to this after-school program that they know is going to look good on their resume, but they know that their family also needs that help because they have been impacted by COVID. So we do things like offering those financial assistance, that one-time stipend, or stipends for attending and engaging in our meetings. Something outside of this research is just when the pandemic happened, a few of us came and formed here in Santa Cruz County, the Santa Cruz County Black Health Matters. And what we wanted to do was just to re-engage families. So we do things like reconnecting with nature. So you'll find Black families going out and we're doing sunset hikes. I'm a proud founder and board member of the Black Surf Santa Cruz, getting more African Americans out there on a surfboard. We're surfing on Thursdays. It's in between your movies, so you can do that if you want to come. Come grab a surfboard and join us. And so it's that space of really including the family, that the things that we design really do welcome. And when our parents and caregivers do see that trust, they start to tailor off and say, okay, my student, yep, they've got this. But we just truly promote that family unit and that intergenerational, the elders, the youth, that intergenerational space where people are included. So definitely everything from stipends to making sure programs include the entire family unit is what we do.
If I can add to that, thank you for your question. I think it's a really important question, and so many times there's a narrative in the community that, oh, the parents don't care. And so part of our work is how do we help impact and change that narrative, right? And we do it in various ways. Number one, we build relationships with parents. I have never met a parent of color, a low-income parent, a rich parent, a white parent who doesn't care about their kids, that doesn't care about their kids' education. But the narrative tells us something different. And so for us, it's culturally connecting. If your team doesn't look like the community, it's harder, right? If your curricula doesn't reflect the values of the community, it doesn't work. It may work, but it doesn't work as well. It's not as strong, right? So we use cara y corazón, face and heart. It's a curriculum developed by Maestro Jerry Teo through the Compadres Network. It's a parenting curriculum that connects parents, connects families, connects the team to talk about things that are important culturally. Extremely powerful, extremely successful. Those things matter. And I think the last part of it is corazón. It's heart, man. If the connection doesn't, I don't have to tell you, I know you. The question is heart, right? The question is heart, and so the connection is heart. Thank you.
I really don't have a question. I have a comment for Ms. Keisha. I just want to say I am honored to be in this space. I am a youth organizer from Chicago who does work with young people in a nonprofit organization, and my main goal here was to come and not only present with my folks, but also to get inspired, and you have inspired me. To be a CEO is amazing, and I hope to be that one day. I'm sorry for crying, but in this work, it definitely gets hard, in trying to find the continuous inspiration, and I think that you are a true embodiment of that, and I do thank you for being in this space and sharing your knowledge, because I definitely do appreciate it. And again, thank you so much, and continue the journey to inspire young people like myself. I'm 24 years old and still, trying to find that inspiration to continue. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that. My name's Catherine Mitchell. I'm the Dean of the Social Sciences, and I wanted to just point out that the three people that you've been talking about so much, Rebecca, Steve, and Chris, are all in the social sciences. And one of the things that Steve talked about was the importance of thinking about power relations. And I just want to say that there's power relations within the university as well. And the social sciences is at the bottom, and there's a reason that they say hard sciences and soft sciences, and we're very much considered to be a soft science, and there's the money that MariaElena was talking about, the budgets are moral documents. The money follows the hard sciences. It doesn't follow the soft sciences, and in fact, the humanities and the arts are considered to be ways that we learn to be human, but the social sciences, they don't really understand, so we don't really get anything, respect or money. And the formulas that where the resources flow do not come to the kinds of work that is being done and feted here. In fact, if we think of the social sciences at the bottom of the university structure, community-engaged research is the bottom of the social sciences in terms of funding. And so my request to you is we actually have the chancellor of the university and the president of Rutgers coming tomorrow. And I would like everybody to make it clear that this work is important to them and that it should be funded and respected in a better way on this campus and across the country. So thank you.
I want to quickly add, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because through this partnership, our United Way, I was able to leverage and have, for the first time in history, the chancellor of UC Santa Cruz serve on our board of directors. And so these are the things that we're able to do, is leverage these partnerships to have that voice so that the chancellor can see real time through a 68-page board packet, but also be a part of the strategic plan of why this is important and why it should be funded. So I encourage you all. This is an opportunity for nonprofits to leverage.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just amazing. One of the things I know as an educational sociologist is that culture change happens slowly, and it requires cultural methodologies and practices. And so I felt like I got a multivitamin this morning by that opening. But I just would love, I know we don't have time, but just what are some of the ways that in your organizations you're using the humanities and the arts, right, to breathe life into this kind of deep cultural change that we need? I know there are many examples, but maybe even just one or two that we could take with us would be great to hear.
And we'll probably have to take that as a lightning round because we're almost out of time.
Yes. Quickly, when I became CEO, and I'm looking at Sarah Emmert, my director of community impact, one of the quick things that we did was an internal equity assessment. So we did an organizational assessment, and we challenged and checked, what do you need a degree to do this work, this particular function or skill? So we've changed that. We embrace culture. We celebrate everything. I fly in the Mardi Gras king cake from New Orleans, and we talk about Three Kings Day. So it's that internal work of assessment. We can't go around and tell everybody else to be in equity and diverse, and we're not. So we started internally, and now it pours out.
I think this is the first time I'm saying it in public, but I'm writing a book now, and the book is tentatively titled "Assimilation is Surrender," and and every day we're being asked to surrender, to assimilate, to accept someone else's culture, someone else's ideas, some other way of looking at the world. And I have so much trouble with that. And for me and for our full membership. And so that is really hard. They're just asking us to compromise until we lose our soul. And we refuse to do that. And our ancestors before me, just generations ago, that's exactly what they were doing. They did not want to assimilate to a world that they didn't understand, that wasn't fair, that was cruel and punishing. And why would we want to surrender to that? And so there's no answers here. There's a lot of confusion, but those are the struggles that I deal with, and I'm sure that all cultural people deal with. So that's just another part of this whole thing.
I would add that arts and culture is a common language. My art might be different than your art, but it brings us together. And dance and song and corridos and los panchos and all those common touch points we can connect with, right? Head and heart. And so nonprofits, we're heart, man. Academic universities, you're head. You can't do what we do, and we can't do what you do. But we got to figure it out together, and arts and humanities is that shared language, in my opinion.
So hearts full, heads full. Please give another round of appreciation. So we're just getting started, y'all. You got a half-hour break. The coffee break to fill your stomach a little bit is across the street at the Hotel Paradox. Breakout sessions start at 11 for another hour and a half, then lunch, then breakout sessions, and back here at 3:30. So enjoy, connect. Love you all for being here.
Wow. That was so great.